Rise in You is actually by Claudia Carawan, and it's such a beautiful, perfect song for today, right? I rise in you. However, my question to you is the words, I rise in you. I rise in you. What is the I that is rising in you? That's the question. So, we're going to go into that. The I is only one thing and one thing only. The I that is rising in you and me, it's consciousness. It's consciousness. We're going to talk about consciousness and how this Easter isn't about Jesus, because it's about the Christ consciousness. And the Christ consciousness is everywhere present. He happened to embody the Christ consciousness, and I'll talk about what that is in a little bit. So, in the book, it's called It's All God by Walter Starkey. He writes in a chapter called Easter Consciousness. He says, Easter symbolizes that moment in our lives when it is revealed that we are spirit or consciousness with bodies, rather than bodies with consciousness. Yes, we are consciousness with bodies, not bodies with consciousness. Easter represents the breakthrough at which time we are freed from death and all material limitation, even from time and space. Easter proves that consciousness is the cause, the maintainer and sustainer of our lives. Jesus did not get off the cross and manifest a new material body by an objective physical act, but rather through the subjective energy and activity of his own consciousness. When he said, destroy this temple, meaning his body, and in 3 days, consciousness, the I equals consciousness, will raise it up. He did not say, destroy this body in 3 days. I, as Jesus, will rise it up. The Christ consciousness will rise it up. Because he knew he wasn't a body. We're not bodies. We have a body, but we're not bodies. That's a cool thing to try and wrap your mind around. But this is where we're going. Because he had a body, but he was consciousness or spirit. He could make such a statement because he knew he was the I am. The I am manifesting a body. Each of us is the consciousness of the great I am that I am. And we have put on a physical earth suit in order to operate on this plane. But in truth, we are this consciousness. In the traditional Christianity, Easter is the commemoration, of course, of the trial, of the execution, and then the subsequent resurrection of Jesus and ascending to heaven. In Unity, we take a different approach. Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, looked at the Bible from a metaphysical point of view. He didn't take the physical and literal stories in the Bible. He looked at them for symbolism. Because we can read history books, and it could be the Bible as a history book. However, it's so much more. And that's where Charles was going. He was looking at it as it's an allegory and metaphor for our own personal lives. It needs to be a personal difference. And we have this great way shower and teacher, Jesus, who was demonstrating what was possible for each and every one of us. It's all about this shedding the old and becoming renewed. Easter is not a mysterious magic show where a man is transformed into a god, but a template for our personal transformation of our minds, hearts, and souls. Easter is not a magic show. However, I have an Easter magic story. Would you like to hear it? Some of you may have heard this. It's only Easter when can one do this, probably. And so a man is driving down the highway, and a bunny starts hopping across the road. And he swerves to miss it, but he's not sure if the bunny's okay. So he pulls over, and sure enough, the bunny's, oh no. The bunny is on the side, and it's dead. And the man feels so bad, he starts to cry. And this woman sees him at the side of the road and sees him being distraught. So she pulls over, and the man goes, I was driving, I tried to miss it, but he ran in front, and now he's dead. The woman says, oh, don't worry, I know what to do. And she goes over to her car, and opens the trunk and brings out a can, and she goes over and sprays the entire contents of the can upon this dead, limp rabbit. Miraculously, this rabbit comes back to life, jumps up, waves his paw to the humans, and hops on down the road. And 50 yards later, he turns around and he waves again. And he goes 50 more yards, and he turns and waves again. And the man's like, what was in the can? And the woman turns the can around so he can read it. It says, hairspray, restores life to dead hair, adds permanent wave. You just have to do it on Easter, right? And so I have another little gem for you, and this is a true story. The priest at church on Easter invited the kids up to the platform, and he asked the kids, who can tell me what the resurrection is? And one little boy goes, well, I don't know for sure, but if you have one for 4 hours, you have to go to the hospital. Well, then. You know, it's Easter. These only work on Easter. So we've heard the little boy's idea of what resurrection is. And now how about Charles Fillmore? I think his is a little bit different. Charles Fillmore talks about the resurrection in the True Lent, a book that he wrote about the True Lent in all 40 days. He says, Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. Its inner meaning and spiritual significance is the awakening and raising to spiritual consciousness of the I am in man and women, which has been dead in its awareness of the truth and buried in the tomb of illusions and materiality. Jesus says, I came so that they may have life and have it more abundantly. The resurrection is basically the raising up of the whole person, the mind, the body, and the spirit, into the Christ consciousness. I said if you can count how many times you hear consciousness, you'll know. And so every time we rise up, each and every one of us, into the realization that we are eternal indwelling life, making union with that Father mind within, the resurrection of Jesus takes place in each and every one of us. See, Easter, again, is not about Jesus. It's about you and me and how we can follow his example, his blueprint. So this resurrection is basically a coming up into a higher consciousness, not here on the plane. For me, I talked a little bit about the caterpillar and the butterfly. It's like we're here on Earth and we're just crawling around like a caterpillar, but we don't realize that we're all butterflies, right? And so we're crawling around and all we do is eat and pay attention for ourselves. However, there comes a time when something shifts and that caterpillar builds this cocoon, which I see as a tomb, and then possibly a womb that is going to open up. And this caterpillar self becomes the butterfly, the Christ consciousness that is free and beautiful and can go anywhere and pollinate and be the light that it is. So we all have this butterfly self. So how do we go about to rise up into this butterfly beingness? Well, what we need is the crucifixion. You can't have a resurrection without the crucifixion. So what is the crucifixion? According to Charles Fillmore, our great founder, he said, the word crucifixion means the crossing out in consciousness of certain error thoughts that have become fixed states of mind. It is the enactment of a master of the final extinction and release of the limited fear-based thinking in order to free the unlimited Christ mind may be expressed in all its fullness. Calvary actually means the place of the skull. The final battle is actually in releasing the conditioned fear-based limiting thoughts and beliefs, which are all in here, so that we can live abundantly from the Christ mind. And the Christ mind is the mind of the heart. It's not this limited idea that we've all been conditioned. So what is Christ consciousness, since I mentioned it many times? It is the pure awareness infused with unconditional love and compassion. There's three components of this Christ consciousness, this pure awareness infused with pure love, unconditional love, and compassion. The first is recognizing that there's only one life, one energy, and it is spirit, the divine, God, whatever you call it. It is this infinite intelligence, divine intelligence, everywhere present. And number two is that, therefore, each one of us is an individualized expression of this divine intelligence, that we have that love and unconditional love, and we have the capacity and potential to be just that. And the third part is that, the beliefs that we hold are creating our reality. The Master said, "It is done unto you as you believe." We unfortunately have beliefs that were installed in us at a young age. And now it's kind of like, well, I need to recognize what those are and cross them out. Crucify that mind that has absorbed all these thoughts. Once I'm free of all of that limited thinking, I can rise up into the being that I already am. Reverend Mark Anthony Lord says, it is recorded in the Bible that dying on the cross, Jesus said 7 last words or phrases. And the crucifixion story and these 7 last words, actually metaphysically interpreted, actually are our blueprint for our transformation. He does teaching even from the cross. He doesn't stop teaching. If we listen carefully and look at what is he saying, what's behind those words, we too can follow those. So I am going to be sharing those 7 phrases. And did everybody get a index card and a pen? And if not, raise your hand so we can make sure you get such. Right beside you, Deborah, and there's a couple others. The purpose of the card is because I'd love to give you an opportunity to jot these down. There is 7 phrases or 7 words, and how convenient they're 7 days of the week. So what I'm going to suggest is that you write these down, the key words, because I boil the sentences down into one word, the phrases, which you can write both. But what if you started on Sunday with a certain practice, and then Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday? That is why you have the card, so that you can make these notes, and if you choose, you can do the spiritual practice and focus on each of these. Okay, I think pretty much everybody's got the card and a pen. Awesome. So, of course, we're going to start with what we consider the first day of the week is Sunday. And the word is forgiveness. The word is forgiveness. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So starting with forgiveness is the first step for us to be able to be free and rise up. Because honestly, if you were carrying the weight of resentments and judgments and anger and hurt, We can't rise up. It's weighing us down. So the practice of forgiveness is key. Now, I know that anybody who feels hurt or wounded or has wounded another is usually coming from a place of need and ignorance of the truth of who they are. Because if I knew, or whoever hurt may have given me a hurt, or I experienced hurt from them, they don't know that they're the divine and that I'm the divine. Therefore, they have acted out of ignorance and not knowing such. So I just had a crucifixion experience, which sometimes it's like, really, on Friday? Of course it's going to be on Good Friday. I'm not going to go into the story. It's not necessary. All I can say is I was really hurt. Started off with being angry. That's usually my first go-to when I feel hurt. Then I cried in my car all the way home. I was hurt. I went home, distracted myself, went to sleep. Saturday morning it's in my mind, and it's disturbing me, and I'm not going to be able to work on a talk when this is here. Well, I have been given the gift of what is called a forgiveness letter, which I have given to people, I have used myself, and it is basically giving voice to all of our feelings, the main 5 feelings. So I got out a piece of paper, whether I wanted to do or not, I needed to practice what I preach. So I wrote, "Dear so-and-so, I'm writing to share my feelings. I hate you." I mean, honestly, you got to be real. I hate you. I'm not, we're human beings. It's called give voice to your feelings. So I wrote my anger. Then I went into the hurt and the pain. So the next one is feeling your hurt and expressing it. Fears, any regrets I have, and I did have some regrets and things that I wanted to apologize for. And the final feeling was one of love and understanding and appreciation for this person, because we had a relationship at one point, and there was things I appreciated. I didn't appreciate the experience that I had with them on Friday, but I wanted to complete in that way. And I wrote a lot. I had a lot to say, so that was good. And then I wrote a letter to myself from the person. "Dear Liz, thank you for sharing your feelings." And this letter from this person I experienced hurt from was everything I would like to hear them say. Honestly, I was blown away by the words that came out of this being that via me. I actually recognized that they said in this writing, "I never intended to hurt you. That's not my intention. I'm here to protect such and such." And it was like, oh, well, I wouldn't have known that. So it put a light in me that made me understand. They also said that they cared about me, all the things that I didn't think was true. And they apologized. And I'll tell you what, I'm clear and clean now. I'm rising up into who I came here to be. I have there might be some residue of a thought, but it's not consuming me, because it was. So if you care to have a forgiveness letter, you can send me an email, revliz@UnitySantaFe. I will send you one, or I do have some copies in my office, which I didn't put out yet. So that's the forgiveness. We're moving into Monday. Monday, the word is now. The word is now. The phrase is, "Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." Jesus is hanging between 2 thieves, and these represent the past and the future. When we reminisce and stay in the past, we're being robbed of our power, because the only power there is in the now, and the key word is today. So if I don't want to be robbed of my power, which only exists today, I need to get beyond that and go, no, I'm in paradise today. And I practiced that this weekend as well. I'm like, no, stay in the present. And then there's the other side, the fears, doubts, and worries about the future, and it's usually stuff that we have no control over and usually doesn't happen anyway. It too robs us of our power of now. So I want to stay in the now. I want to stay in today. And I'm going to give you the way to go about that is you breathe. What a concept. Now, did you all take a deep breath? Yeah, you did. Because we don't breathe deeply. Take a deep breath and you just say, I am here now. I am here now. And then you can extend it. God is here now. Love is here now. Peace is here now. I am here now. You just repeat that, and guaranteed you're going to bring yourself ready into the now just by stating those words. So, I am here now, and stay in the today where your power is. Tuesday. All right, moving on. The word is oneness. Oneness. The phrase, woman, behold your son, behold your mother. Why did Jesus say that? He was speaking to his mother Mary and disciple John, because he recognized that just to seclude and separate, and you are my mother and you are my brother, excludes others. Everybody is part of the family, the human family. And so we don't want to be in separateness. We have to be in oneness. And to be in oneness, we have to release all the roles that we assign people, like woman or man or non-binary or daughter, son, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, Buddhist, white, black, yellow, red. We have to separate that whole idea. Poor, rich, old, young, gay or straight. So we're all one. Do we live from that? Do we really live from that? Can I look at anybody and go, you're my brother or sister? In India, they say, everybody's their auntie or uncle. I love that about India. So will you be willing to see people, especially the ones that you don't like? Especially, remember that Jesus said, got to love your neighbor as yourself, and also the famous line, love your enemies, right? So, I'm giving you this invitation, and you can say something like, all are divine, I am divine. All are divine, I am divine, we are all divine. I open my heart to all as God's family of humanity. And I know I'm giving you a lot, and I'm going to keep moving along. But guess what? This is being recorded, so you can always listen to it again on our website or on YouTube. I think Facebook as well. Want to keep going here. Truth. Truth is the word for Wednesday. My God, why have you forsaken me? Have you ever felt forsaken, like God was a million miles away? You didn't feel connected, in that dark night of the soul? I mean, to forsake means to leave completely, to abandon, to desert. Now here's Jesus, our great way shower, our great teacher, the Christ consciousness embodied. And here he is saying, and he knows he and his Father are one. He's saying it, and yet he's going, why have you forsaken me? It's really good that this got recorded. Why? Because it's showing us that even those that are most highly advanced in consciousness are also human and have feelings. And it is good to express one's feelings. It's not shoving them down. It's like if you're feeling forsaken, say your truth. It's your small t truth. Because we know that we're not forsaken, but we feel that way. And once we express it, we actually get back into that higher mind. So giving voice to our feelings actually releases the feeling that might be weighing us down so we can rise up. Need to speak the truth. That's why the word truth. Speaking your small t truth. Okay, we're moving into, what are we on? Thursday. I lost Thursday. Where is my Thursday? Oh, no. Yeah, Oh, no, it's got to be here. Well, it doesn't have to be. Okay, where's Thursday? Are we on Friday? This was actually Thursday. You're right. 4 was Thursday, I'm guessing. Tuesday was oneness. Wednesday was truth. Gotcha. Okay. Now, so we're good? I didn't lose myself? Having a human moment in my Christ consciousness. Okay, we're on Friday. Okay, Thursday. Truth is, I changed things up and I didn't write it down. So Thursday, the word is vision. Vision. And Jesus had 2 words. He said, I thirst. I thirst. What does I thirst represent? It means he was in discomfort. He needed something. It's desire to that which gives you life. It's the desire to give you what brings you life. To thirst for something midway through the change is to show that you are divinely discontented. And that divine discontent leads us to having a vision of what we're really about. I'm thirsty, and what would I love to have? The vision. Envision what it is that you're seeking. Because without that, you're not going to move on. And in the butterfly story, the caterpillar has to have his thoughts of his limited self die and then go into his imaginal cells. I don't know if you knew that, but there's imaginal cells in that being, and they have to imagine something greater, and they have to be activated. So my question to you is, what are you thirsty for? What are you thirsty for? What would bring you more life? What would bring you more energy? Are you thirsty for peace, love, prosperity? What are you thirsty for? Asking yourself that question. And then from there, once you identify what you're thirsty for, you move into the vision, to envision it. Without the identification, you can't envision it. So spend time with your vision of what you would love, what you're thirsty for, as if it was so. All right, I think we're on Friday now. Yeah. So on Friday, the word completion. Completion. His words, it is finished. He's complete. He's done the work. He's been going through everything. He's gotten to the point of vision. So he is now to say that what is not finished in your life? What do you still need to release? What limiting thought or belief is still holding you down? We need to recognize it. And then you can, once you get your understanding going, yep, that's still bringing me down, weighing me down. And once you identify it, you can do a ritual or a ceremony to just off of it. You can burn it, you can write about it, you can bury it, but it needs to be some sort of a ritual so that I am complete. And doing something like that can help release what it is that may be holding you down, so that you can have completion and say, it is finished. I'm complete. I'm graduating, as Kim would say. I'm graduating. I have completed my mission, my being here, moving on. So, we are on Saturday, yes? Yes. Okay. So now that I've done all of this, Jesus said, the word is surrender. Surrender. He's complete. He's been teaching us. Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. And that surrender isn't about giving up and that you win, I lose. It's the surrender of trust, full trust, knowing that there is nothing. And fear, you either trust or you fear. There's no fear. I completely trust in who I am and that I am surrendering my body into that higher consciousness, and I rise up. When we release that cocoon, which is the womb, we can then bloom, right? We can bloom and we can express. The words, do not conform to the pattern of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. In closing, Walter Starkey says in It's All God, death and resurrection does not happen once in a lifetime. Every time there is a divorce, every time a partner dies, every time one loses a job, every time there is a shift in consciousness whatsoever, the old identity dies and a new one is born. Every shift in consciousness brings on an identity crisis. Wow, who would I be without my story? Yeah, there you go. If we understand and welcome our personal Easters, we will be born again into a better place. Unfortunately, we have been trained that the crucifixion, the dark or shadow side, represents failure and should be avoided. Instead, we see that crucifixion, the dark side, as the flip side of resurrection, as no more a stage in the creative process, because something has to die in order for something to be born. We can then become triumphant. We can say, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. And then we will have the capacity to lift ourselves up into heaven. There wasn't any God outside of Jesus that raised him up. It was Jesus' own Christ consciousness that did it. So are you ready to rise up? Yes. What? Yes. So once you rise up, the truth is you can be the I am that I am, right? You can be that butterfly. You can be whoever you are. You're a unique expression of the divine. So be who you are in that higher state of being. I know you're doing it now, and you'll probably enjoy this next song, right? Yep, she said, yep, and so it is. Namaste.